We are part of the Royal Voluntary Service. We kind of started life. Here we go. Sorry, you have to excuse me. I'm not very familiar with Zoom. So we started life during the COVID pandemic when NHS England approached the Royal Voluntary Service to see if we could help and support with placing volunteers into the COVID vaccination sites. So at any one point during the COVID mass vaccination, we had volunteers in every single vaccination site across England. Now, as this kind of like moved on and progressed, and thank goodness kind of quietened down, we looked to see how we could evolve our programme to best support those within our local community and the NHS. And NHS England has continued to support us through this and continue to commission us. We are a digitally delivered volunteering platform. The idea being that we are able to offer fast and real-time deployment. So the way that it works is that somebody will register to become one of our volunteers. They'll go through the induction process, and then they will then download and have their volunteering information and activities on an app on their phone. That allows us, so when somebody makes a referral, for that instantly to go into the system, and any local volunteers that we have available are able to pick up those activities and complete them. So the theory being, and we can kind of come onto this a little bit later, that actually you could place a referral into the system this morning for one of our activities, and a volunteer could be able to pick that up later today and complete that task. The idea with our program is very much, and I kind of say to everybody that I kind of work with, we're not here to reinvent the wheel. We are not here to take other people's volunteers. We are very much here to try and add additionality to the support networks that you already have in place. I work very closely, I cover the east of England, and I work closely with other voluntary sector organisations to understand really where the needs are, if there's any gap in the provision locally. So it could be, I know in the east of England, I have some absolutely amazing good neighbourhood schemes that are up and running. So we then work with the likes of Age UK and other people that kind of run these to understand what areas do they not have that provision, and that's really where we can come in and support. We constantly evolve the programme, so it evolved slightly earlier this year, where we looked at the way that we were engaging with our volunteers, how tasks were going out, and we are constantly working with people referring into the programme to really understand what those needs are and to see if we can develop that programme to meet them. Right. Next one. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go through our volunteer activities. I'm not quite sure the best way to do it. If anybody does have a question, then please just kind of like speak up and we can kind of discuss it at any point in the slides. Or if everyone's quiet, then kind of we can do questions at the end. I can't see anybody's faces at the moment, so I'm going to assume that you're all there still. Okay, so we have telephone support. Telephone support is split into two different volunteer activities. The first one we have is check-in and chat. Now, check-in and chat is very much about volunteers offering a really friendly phone call to somebody that might be lonely and isolated and just kind of really wants to talk to somebody. This provision can go on for up to 18 weeks, and it is either one phone call a day or it's one phone call a week for that duration. Check-in and chat, you will have a different volunteer on each call. Now, this provides us the flexibility to pull upon our pool of volunteers across the whole of England. Oh, Amy, I can see a nice cat's bottom at the moment. So the idea being we can pull on volunteers from across England. I found that the feedback on this is really positive because actually people get to chat to people they can be down in Cornwall, the next day they might be talking to somebody in Suffolk, and it gives them the opportunity really just to kind of have a broad range of people's experiences and in different parts of the country. It also means that we can pull upon volunteers that don't have the assurance levels that our companionship calls have, which means that we have far more volunteers that we can draw upon. Now, companionship calls is very similar to check-in and chats. It's designed to be a regular telephone call to support somebody's health and well-being, friendly chat, talking about whatever people want to talk about. This is 3 calls a week for up to 6 weeks. But the difference with companionship calls is that you will have the same volunteer on each call. So if you feel that somebody would really benefit from that continuity of support, then this is the activity that you would refer them in for. Because the volunteer is going to be talking to the same person over a prolonged period of time, our companionship call volunteers are all DBS, enhanced DBS, and adult BARD. The programme is also available for self-referral, and friends and family can also refer people into the telephone support as well. All we ask is that they have to have the support of the person that they're referring in, and that they have to be fully aware of what's happening and kind of happy to receive those phone calls. We then have community response. Now, as I kind of spoke about earlier, the way that our volunteering platform works is that tasks will go out to volunteers. What we have done, and this is kind of what was launched earlier this year, is that we have split down our community response into 4 separate activities. This allows our volunteers to be able to look at what that activity is and gauge how much time that activity is going to take them. So then they can make an educated decision whether they are in a position that day to be able to pick up that activity. So the community response, we have a small shop. Now, a small shop is kind of very, as the name suggests, it's a few items. The way that I describe it is that it is small enough items that you could fit it in a basket as opposed to a trolley. I have a lot of referrers that will refer in for a small shop where they're supporting somebody from collecting a food bank parcel. So that's kind of really the idea with that. Your larger shop, as the name would dictate, that's where I would say it's kind of more of a weekly shop, or a larger shop that somebody would need a trolley to be able to go around the supermarket with, and not a basket. We then have prescription collection and delivery. And this is where a volunteer will go along to a local pharmacy. They can either collect a prescription, or they could maybe go to an optician's or an audiology department to pick up a hearing aid. So there's lots of kind of different options with this. They are available either as a one-off activity or once a week for a maximum of 6 weeks. Within community response, we have a new volunteer activity, and this activity is called Connect. Now, Connect is about, I think the best way to describe it is it's about reconnecting people back into the community. So it could be somebody may have been on an elective waiting list for a while and actually have lost a little bit of confidence going out and about again. It could be that they have recovered from surgery. They're now at a point where they can start getting out and about, but they need a little bit more kind of companionship and support initially with that kind of connecting back in. So I have referrers that are referred in individuals that want to get back out, kind of walking to their local park, but really felt those first few trips out, they really benefited from having somebody with them. Again, it's really about thinking with our programme who we can best support. So our remit is supporting health and well-being. As we know, social isolation in some cases can have as negative effect on somebody's health as smoking, obesity, and some of the other kind of high risk factors. So it could be, and I know I certainly have referrers that may refer somebody in who has been a carer for a while. They sadly may have lost their loved one, and actually they now find themselves on their own and a little bit apprehensive about that journey, about reconnecting. So really have a think about where Connect can best fit. At the moment, it is looking at supporting somebody attending a lunch club or a social activity. It could be taking somebody, like I said, out for a walk. I'm working at the moment, and I've got an evening meeting tonight on a very exciting project in one of my small local villages, where we are looking at helping local people connect into a demand responsive transport scheme that has just been started. So we are looking at, initially, there are lots of people out there that we know that are not digitally inclusive. So we are initially looking at getting the Connect volunteers to help collect this person from their home address, take them to a club that we are setting up where they will receive support with getting connected onto the internet, with using their mobile phone, and also with then using this digital app to book their transport. That volunteer is then going to follow them on their journey. So once their initial transport has been booked and they've kind of used their app, the volunteer, instead of collecting from them from their home address, is then going to go with them on their first few bus transport journeys to this group, where they're going to learn other skills like kind of using the NHS app and also online shopping. We at the moment, and this is very confusing, and I appreciate that it is slightly, I'm going to say frustrating, because it's quite frustrating for me. We can provide a volunteer to help somebody go and visit a loved one within a hospital or a care setting, but currently this program does not have the capacity to take somebody to a medical appointment of any sorts. That's something that we are feeding back into the program, and obviously we will kind of continue to keep people updated. So again, this can be a one-off activity, or it can be once a week for a maximum of 6 weeks. Okay. We then have I'm just going to kind of briefly mention these. I think kind of like with the information that I know already about kind of you guys, this may be not something that will necessarily support you, but we have other activities as well, where we kind of, this is more centered around supporting NHS sites. So we have a driving support activity, and this is called Pick Up and Deliver. There's 2 types, Pick Up and Deliver and Pick Up and Deliver Plus. They're essentially the same thing. This is where we work very closely with NHS trusts to see if we can help support the discharge process, and also things like virtual wards. And that's where we will provide volunteers that will go into the hospital environment. They are shift-based, so a shift will generally be about 2 hours. They will go in and they will collect any medication or equipment that needs to be taken to people that are either just been discharged from hospital or are on a virtual ward and are kind of supported by that hospital. So very exciting program, and we're kind of finding that this is now really taking off. We continue to do our site support, so kind of going back to kind of where we first started with our stewarding support. We have our autumn boosters coming up, so we will have volunteers within local pharmacies, GP practices, and other places where they are still continuing to do the COVID vaccinations. And we also are providing ambulance support. And this is about really providing refreshments and a friendly face to those ambulance crews within A&E bays. And we found that this kind of like is, you know, with winter pressures coming up, this is something that really kind of offers that a little bit of additional support to the NHS. Like I said to you, referrers have the capacity to go online and make a referral. if you when you go on the easiest way, we have a kind of the website details there. You can also go on to our websites. There is a link at the top that says I'm a professional referrer. You click on there and the first kind of blue box that you see is I would like to refer. That takes you to exactly the same landing page as this, and you have two choices. So on the left hand side, this is where you are requesting support for somebody else or for yourself. And on the right hand side that's where we're kind of like looking at the support for a site. So whether that's the pick up and deliver or the vaccination or the ambulance support. You click on the select and it will bring you through to a form. The form is very intuitive. Oh, I've kind of skipped on. The form is very intuitive. So what it will do is it will give you, as you populate the boxes, it will then bring down further drop down boxes that you need to complete. You have the capacity to then re-enter this program at any point and have a look at where you are with that referral. So as you can see here, you will be able to click on, each of them will have a unique activity ID. You will click on that and you'll have the name come up, and then it will tell you whether we have currently found a volunteer or where we are with that process. We have a safeguarding and problem solving team that are there to support you throughout this journey. They are available 7 days a week. Our safeguarding teams are available to you from 8 in the morning until 8 o'clock, 9 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. And that's kind of for any emergency situations where we need that immediate response. Our problem solving team, so if there's any general queries that you have, you can either contact your regional relationship manager or you can contact them, and they are available from 9 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock, and they're there to kind of offer support with making a referral or any updates that you might need. Just thinking if I've covered everything. I think I've covered everything on there. And then I'm going to go to any other questions. So I'm going to stop sharing. Has anybody got any questions? I can't see any hands. Come on, somebody else talk and give me a break for a couple of minutes.
Hi, sorry. Hi, my name's
Hello.
Kelly. I work for the Adult Social Care Contact Centre at BCP Council. So yeah, we often have that first contact with somebody who's either approached us directly or a family member has sort of identified there may be some social care needs. So this has been really helpful to learn about, because 3 of us have been taking part in a pilot project whereby we can do a little bit more in-depth work with somebody that maybe doesn't need lots of intervention from adult social care or require assessment or anything like that, but may have some social needs that we've identified that could be shorter term. And quite often it's kind of the domestic issues that come up in our conversations around social isolation, a need for help with a bit of shopping, and prescriptions and things like that. So it's really helpful to know that it's there. I'm sorry, I missed the very beginning of the presentation. So is this for anybody that's over the age of 18 upwards?
Yeah, so our eligibility requirements for the whole of the programme is 18 years and over.
Yeah.
We don't have any other criteria around whether they have to live on their own, nothing like that. All we ask is that you feel, as the person making that referral, that they are going to benefit from our volunteering program.
Yeah.
So our volunteers are not extensively trained in mental health. So anyone that you feel might be slightly fragile, might not benefit from a volunteer that is not well versed and well trained in dealing with complex mental health issues, then they wouldn't be right for our program. What we don't want to do is to make the situation worse. So it's very much around, and that's why our telephone befriending phone calls, they are available for self-referral. But all the other activities like the community response, so the prescription collections, the connect, they are only available to be referred in by a professional. But we are asking for you really to be our eyes and ears to make sure that you really feel that that person is in a position to be able to benefit from the support that we offer. I say to people, be very pragmatic about it as well. It may be that somebody has had very complex needs, but actually they're at a point in their journey where you feel that actually they're at a point that they could really benefit from this. Actually, the past should not be a barrier to what they can receive now. So it's very much kind of really looking at that person and understanding, will they benefit? With even down to the companionship calls, as we know, if we have somebody who might be a little bit confused, and actually receiving a phone call from a complete stranger might actually be damaging. So it's kind of just be aware of, I think, of that. With Connect, and that's kind of where we're looking at a volunteer going out and helping someone reconnect. They have to, at the moment, have the ability to self-transfer.
Okay.
And I know that that's kind of, it's something that kind of, it's raised a lot within the east of England where I work. And I'm really sorry. At the moment, we're not in a position where we can support somebody with a wheelchair, whether, and yes, they have to have the ability to self-transfer in and out of a car and self-mobilize.
Okay.
It is a limiting factor. We are feeding it back.
Yeah.
Connect is still relatively new,
so that was one of my other questions, was transport. So a person might be able to walk a short distance and mobilise sort of out of the property and in and out of a car. So does that mean a volunteer who's accompanying a person to, say, a lunch club can drive that individual?
Okay. Yeah, so when you make the referral, you'll kind of get, like I said, you'll have a series of drop-down boxes that you go through. It's very, very intuitive. It's kind of, what's your name, where do you live? And then you kind of get on to what the referral is for. So you have the ability to put information in a free text box.
Yeah.
When you go on there, you will see that it provides examples. So all you would say is volunteer will need their own transport and car.
Okay.
So that's the first thing that you will see on there. When just make a note of anybody that is doing a referral, it's kind of in grey because it's giving you suggestions, but you do have to write over the top of it, because otherwise it disappears when you place the referral.
Okay.
So for example, you were looking to kind of get support with taking somebody to a lunch club. What I would do is pop obviously all of the details in, and in that free text box say, Marjorie would like to go to this lunch club, volunteer needs to have their own car and drive Marjorie there and back. The lunch club is Thursday at 2:00 and it goes on for an hour. So it's really just providing volunteers with information that will support them with understanding, do they have enough time to be able to conduct it? So for example, I am a community response volunteer and I will help locally with shopping. I will do that when I'm going to Tesco's anyway, because I know I'm going to Tesco's. So I will go onto my app in the morning. I will see if there's anybody locally that needs things picking up. And I will do that as part of my journey to Tesco's and back.
Okay.
So, and that's really kind of like the beauty of our volunteering program. It allows people to volunteer that wouldn't normally get that opportunity. So it's kind of, I think, as much information as you can put in that free text box to describe what the task is. Be very, what's the word? careful with what personal information you put within that box. We don't need to know about pre-existing medical conditions. We do not want our volunteers to know about backgrounds. If that individual would like to share it with the volunteer, then that's absolutely fine. But what we don't want to have in that free text box is maybe some of the challenges that someone's faced leading up to this, or the reason why they need this support. So just kind of keep it very high level around what support you need. So for example, if you were doing a small shop, you would pop in the box, it's a collection of food bank parcel. The food bank is open between 12 and 3. Please can you phone the volunteer to get, if there's a food bank number, please can you contact Rosemary to find out what her voucher number is. So you wouldn't be able to include that voucher number within the free text box, because again, that's personal information.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And just to clarify, because you said that the app operates in real time, but then in presentation it said it can take up to 72 hours to process a request.
So only your first referral. So when you're making your first ever referral, if you are making it from a non-NHS email address, we say it could take up to 72 hours. In reality, I've never known it to take more than a couple of hours, if I'm perfectly honest with you.
Yeah.
So that's just where we will verify you are who you are. Because again, what we can't have, if you kind of look at, say, Connect, I can't have an individual making a referral for themselves to get a volunteer to come over to their house, because that is a potential safeguarding issue. So that initial referral, if it's not an NHS account, will just be verified by our problem solving team, and then it will go live. With anything that has the free text box, it's checked by our problem solving team. So I was completely incorrect when I said it goes live straight away. It will go live onto our system straight away. If you've made previous referrals, it will go straight to problem solving. And I'm finding at the moment it's kind of put through the system within 10-15 minutes. So it's as kind of live as you can.
Yeah, just thinking, so if we did have a more pressing situation, so we can manage our own and other people's expectations of,
and I think
what
very
can
much
be done.
Yeah, and I think very much at the moment, the way that I describe it, so this is very much a collaboration with the people making the referrals in and us as a programme. As you can imagine, we need to make sure, particularly for community response, we have those local people there ready to support their local community. One of the challenges is and continues to be, if those referrals are not coming in, volunteers become disengaged, they become uninterested in the programme, and they feel that there's nothing for them to support. They go off the boil, so they might be registered with us. They may have previously done volunteer activities for us, but then if it goes quiet, they become disengaged. So one of the big things that we are working on at the moment across the whole of England, and particularly within areas where we understand that there is a need, where that need is, and what that, whether that is a community response need or whether that's a community response and connect need, we will work with referrers to re-engage and recruit, if necessary, local volunteers. So I work very closely with my referrers in the east of England to understand where those gaps are. So I know, that there's some areas of, a particular county that will have, like I said earlier, the most amazing good neighbourhood support networks, where they actually offer a lot of these activities. So that's something that, it wouldn't be necessary for us to target those villages, because the support is already there. So what I do is really understand if there's a gap. Is there any way, where funding might have been pulled back slightly? Whether, and actually there's waiting lists. So it could be that actually, you know, I know Age UK do some fantastic befriending schemes, but actually on occasion in the east of England there's some areas where there's quite a big waiting list. So actually you may think, actually I'm going to refer them into this support because I think long term it's going to offer them what they need. However, there is currently a 12-week waiting list. That's where you would think about using our program and allowing us to then kind of work with you to add that additional support. I found, I'm trying to think kind of, you know, ways in which we work within the east of England, very much a kind of step down or step up approach. So the step up approach is what we've just kind of like described. Actually, you feel that they are going to benefit from further supports that you're going to refer them into, but if there's going to be that delay, then come to us. It could be that somebody is actually stepping down from a more comprehensive support network, and actually you feel that we can assist them with that initial journey, come support moving forward. So it's kind of really thinking about, yeah, kind of really where you need us, and then communicating with us and letting us know, because you know our job is, and it's sometimes quite difficult. So, you know, I'm not going to pretend that, you know, we can fulfill every single one of the referrals that come in instantly. But where we have done this and we have worked very closely with local referrers to understand that need, it works amazingly. We need to get the chicken and the egg to pop out at the same time. It is possible, but, you know, that takes up a kind of, you know, a joined up approach. Just one thing as well, just I kind of want to mention it because particularly if you've got people kind of stepping down from other support packages, but continue, as we know, to be lonely and isolated, think about whether they would equally be as suitable to be a check-in and chat or a companionship call volunteer. So I know loads of people that initially started life kind of being on the receiving end of that volunteer support. However, they have enjoyed the experience so much, and they want to continue to talk to people and engage because it's rewarding for them and it gives them that, you know, a little bit of freedom from living on their own, or then they can continue to do that as part of one of our volunteers. I've also found that that's particularly useful. Maybe you're older, people that you're referring in, then they don't like to receive support. It's, you know, very much kind of, oh no, I'm okay. No, you make sure that support goes to somebody that really needs it, because I'm all right, I'm absolutely fine. In those circumstances, I found that actually introducing them to becoming a volunteer to talk to other people, they get the support and the companionship and the interaction, but they're doing it in such a way that it doesn't compromise them. It kind of makes them, yeah. So yeah, just really have a think about it. It kind of works in so many different ways.
I think the other thing is it's